and stacked up against the next trial. You could lose an arm, and it would feel like your world collapsed, but when someone you love goes blind, until that event, Johnny had realized that he had actually come to care deeply for Fiona. In spite of all his efforts to place her in a different category than his late mother. Over time, she had slipped beyond those boundaries. Her consistent love, the time they spent together, her wisdom and advice all propelled her into a place in his heart he thought would remain vacant the rest of his life. Somehow Fiona had become his mother. But the relationship would change now. For one, they would never ride horses together again. That had been their special time. But she couldn't ride now if she wanted to, and after losing her sight from riding, she likely wouldn't want to. An uncomfortable pause hung in the air. Finally, Emmy said,
"I'm so sorry about Fiona. How is she?"
Johnny sighed heavily. She didn't believe it at first, even when Doc Willis finally told her that she was.
"Blind?"
Emily offered. "Yeah." She said he was wrong, that she'd be back to normal soon enough. Doc said he'd come back and come check on her in a couple of days, but Dad decided not to wait. He took her to the hospital in Raleigh yesterday. They did tests. We're supposed to get results on Friday, but the doctors there told her the same thing Doc Willis did. The swelling may go down by itself, and her sight might come back. But it doesn't sound good. She'll likely be blind for the rest of her life.
"I'm so sorry," Emmy said softly. "How is she taking it?"
How do you think? She's frustrated and angry.
Really? That doesn't sound like her at all.
Johnny frowned. She can't see, Emmy. She's not like herself anymore. His gaze moved beyond Emmy, through the window to the huge autumn moon rising over the horizon. It reminded him of a giant basketball slowly bouncing off the hill and into the atmosphere. I badgered her all the time to go riding. Now I wish I'd never seen a horse. Emery's eyebrows scrunched.
But didn't you make good memories riding together?
Yeah, but now they're ruined. Every time we rode took us closer and closer to the moment she got hurt. Now the good memories are just small pieces of the huge bad one.
I doubt she feels that way.
I know. But Emmy, she cries all the time. I can't stand it. I don't know what to do.
I'd give her a hug and pray for her.
Johnny wanted to say so many things, but clenched his teeth to hold back the words. He couldn't say what he was feeling without the emotion spewing out all over her. She meant well, but she had no idea how what she said came across. What he heard was her saying,
"You're being silly, Johnny. You shouldn't feel that way. Prayer will fix it."
but he had tried praying. They all had. And after every prayer had been prayed, and every hug had been given, and every doctor had finished his tests, Fiona was still blind. Why would God, if there even was a God, let such a terrible thing happen? For that matter, why did God let anything bad happen? The death of a mother, the move to a different country, his friend Steve stuck in a wheelchair. Growing up, Johnny had heard so much about how God loves everyone. But if that was true, he sure had a strange way of showing it.
I'm making things worse, Emmy sighed. Sorry. I just wanted to help.
Johnny wondered if Emmy had read his thoughts. A scary notion. No, I'm just being me. Thanks for coming by, Emmy. I really do appreciate it. She smiled feebly.
Mom wanted me to tell you that if there's any way we can help, just let her know. I mean, she'd flip if she knew I climbed up here to tell you right now, but I saw your lights were on, so...
Tell your folks, thanks, Johnny interrupted. But to be honest, we're all a bit on edge right now. We just need to be left to ourselves for a while.
I understand.
She hesitated, looking as if she wanted to say something else. Finally, she asked,
Are you coming to school tomorrow? Now that Thanksgiving break's over, we're doing Christmas stuff, and it's been pretty fun. You could probably use some of that right now.
Johnny's instinct was to say no, but getting out of the house might be helpful. Maybe.
I'll wait for you, just in case.
Okay.
She reached through the window and grabbed his hand.
The tears welling up in her eyes betrayed the smile on her face.
Bye then,
she said. She traversed the roof, climbed down the trellis, and disappeared into the night. Johnny's gaze turned back up toward the full moon. He wondered whether they'd ever build rockets that could fly into space, or even to the moon. If so, he'd like to be on that rocket. He wished he could fly there right now. Stepping back to close the window, his foot landed on something unexpected. A piercing yelp echoed in the room. "McDuff, get out of the way!" Johnny scolded. The dog lowered his head and skulked to a distant corner of the room, where he lay down, sad eyes averting contact. Johnny sighed again and crossed the room to the pup. "Sorry, boy." He patted McDuff's head, and the dog licked his hand. Outside, in the view of Johnny's room, the moonlight on the shed cast a veil over a lone figure who stood still, watching. Johnny pulled the shade and turned off the light. The figure walked away stealthily around to the shed door, opened it, and sneaked inside. Chapter 3. Johnny ate breakfast quickly. Although Harold was taking time off, he didn't fault Johnny for wanting to go to school. Fiona was ensconced in her own world and said nothing about it except
Have a good day.
As Johnny grabbed his knapsack and scurried out of the door. The morning air felt brisk, and the wind whipped about just enough to encourage the last few dead leaves on the snow-covered oak trees to either wave goodbye from their branches or fall fatally to the earth. Walking down Magnolia Lane toward school, Johnny lost himself in the sound of the ice crystals crunching under his feet. The last vestiges of fall were replaced by the winter snow, as if an artist had wiped his canvas clean and painted his latest inspiration. From behind him, Emmy called out, "Wait up!"